Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to our 14th episode of Hadith Revival with me, Imam Hassan Akbar. In today's episode, we will be discussing two ahadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taken from the book 40 Hadith You Should Know. In these two ahadith, we will be dealing with the area of pride and arrogance. What is a prideful action and what is arrogance? And what is the punishment for the one who has pride and arrogance in his heart? And in the second ahadith, we will be discussing the area or issue regarding women and the permissibility of them going to the masjid. For you find in many of our countries back home, in countries in the East, there is no place for women in the masjid. And so women are stuck in their homes. What do we do about this? Is this permissible for them, for a masjid to have no place for women to pray? We will discuss this and more inshallah in today's episode. Inna alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. May yahdihillahu fala mudilla la wa may yudlil fala hadiya la. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. My dear brothers and sisters, indeed, we begin this show as we begin all shows, praising Allah, giving Allah His praise and His thanks. For indeed, were you to count the blessings of Allah in your lives, in your families, were you to count the blessings of Allah, you would become overwhelmed. Indeed, I challenge you and I ask you to write down all of the blessings that you think that Allah has given you. My dear brothers and sisters, you would run out of ink before you have even scratched the surface of the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal upon you. We must constantly thank Allah. And indeed, those slaves, His servants who thank Him and who praise Him abundantly, then Allah is shakur. He is very appreciative of our thanks. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase us and give us even more. We praise Allah and we thank Allah. We seek Allah's help and we seek Allah's assistance, as we mentioned, in worldly affairs and in the dunya, in the akhirah, in the hereafter, and in this life. We seek Allah's assistance and we seek Allah's help. We seek Allah's protection from the evil that is found within ourselves, for indeed there is evil within us. As the Prophet ﷺ has narrated in many ahadith, each and every one of us is assigned a qareen, a jinn who whispers to us to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. So we seek Allah's protection from our qareen. We seek Allah's protection from His whispers and the whispers of our very own soul. For indeed, there are many of us who whisper evil thoughts to our own selves. We seek Allah's help and assistance. We know for certainty, without any doubt, that whomever Allah guides to this religion of truth, there is none that can misguide this individual. No matter if they beat them, no matter if they torture them, no matter if they throw them in the prison or threaten them, they cannot remove the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in an individual. And we know for a certainty that whomever Allah allows to go astray, whomever Allah allows to fall out of His rahmah, to fall out of His mercy, then there is no guidance for this individual. I bear witness without any hesitation, without any compulsion, that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah alone. And that Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib is His slave and His messenger. Were you to be raised up on the day of judgment with a God other than Allah Azza wa Jal, with a book other than the Quran, and with a prophet other than Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then I say to you that you will be from amongst the losers on that day, on the day of judgment. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from being from among those who will earn His wrath and His anger on that day. Ameen. My dear brothers and sisters, the first hadith is related on the authority of Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhu, in which he says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when women ask permission to go to the masjid, do not prevent them. When women ask permission to go to the masjid, do not prevent them from going to the masjid. And this hadith is found in the Sahih of Imam Muslim. My dear brothers and sisters, this is very important. We know in Islam that a woman should seek the permission of her guardian, of her father, of her husband, the one who is providing for her, the one who is worried over her, the one who wants to protect her, whenever she wants to leave the house, whenever she wants to go somewhere and to travel, she should seek permission from her husband and from her father and from those in authority over her, those who are taken responsible for her. Why? Because were there to be something to happen to them and the father does not know what has happened to his daughter, or a husband does not know where his wife has went and what has happened to her, this would cause extreme grief and extreme trouble for the family. So indeed it is very praiseworthy that a woman should seek the permission of her husband and of her father when she wants to go and to travel and to move about. But when a woman asks her husband or her father permission to go to the masjid, the Prophet ﷺ said that this permission should not be neglected. Meaning that if a sister asks her father to go to the masjid, the father should permit her and the father should not prevent her from going. Likewise, if a sister asks her husband to go to the masjid, she wants to travel with a few sisters to a masjid in Virginia, she wants to travel to a masjid in another state, she wants to travel to a masjid in another city, or she simply wants to go to her local masjid and she asks her husband's permission to go, it is not befitting and it is not correct that the husband should prevent her from going to the masjid. Yes, we know and understand and fully comprehend that the prayer of the woman in her house is more superior and more rewarding in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal than for her to pray in the masjid. We know this and we understand this, but there is something about the masjid that the slave of Allah knows and feels and understands. That when they enter the house of Allah, not your house, not my house, not the friend's house, not the kings of the worlds, not the entertainers and all of the superstars, no. But when you enter the house of Allah, although it is extremely simple, although it is extremely beauty in its, it is beautiful in its simplicity, the heart finds rest. The heart finds sakina and tranquility, rest and security by just entering the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we must also recognize that our sisters, many of them are homemakers, and indeed this is a praiseworthy occupation as well. A woman being home and taking care of the house, if she has a man who is doing what he is supposed to do. Not a man who is acting like a boy, not a man who doesn't have a job, not a man who is not taking care of his responsibilities, but a man who is taking care of his responsibilities and is working hard to provide for his family, then he needs assistance, he needs a partner. And that's what our wives are. They're not our helpers, they're not our slaves, they're not our servants. We are all slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal, but they are our partners. And just as it is required for you to go out and to work 8 to 16 hours a day, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, you need a partner to be at home, to make sure that the children are tended for, to make sure that the children are eating home-cooked meals and not eating that junk food, McDonald's and Burger King and the likes. We need that partner. Our sisters, they have a difficult job. And as is said, a man's job is from sun to sun, from the time the sun rises until the time the sun sets. That's a man's job. But a woman's job is never done. 24 hours she is being asked to work, to strive, to support, and to sacrifice for her family. We must recognize that our sisters have a difficult job in tending to the home and home matters, and they too need a break. They too need a break. It is not easy for us men, and be honest, to pray in the house and the children are yelling and jumping up and down and knocking things over and hitting one another. How much tranquility do you feel in that salah? You don't feel much of it. It is extremely difficult to pray, especially when young kids are in the house having fun and being children. So when our sisters, they ask for permission to go to the masjid, it is not befitting that you prevent them. Rather, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not prevent women from going to the masjid. The troublemakers may begin to ask the questions. Well, what if you did prohibit her from going to the masjid, is this permissible? The truthful answer is it is permissible if you prevent them from going to the masjid for a just and good reason. Mathalan, for example, if this masjid is a masjid that is known to have extremists within it, it is a masjid that is preaching a type of Islam that is strange, an Islam that is based on shedding blood, an Islam that you and I are not aware of. This fundamentalism, if a masjid is found doing this and going to the extreme in their rhetoric, then it is not permissible for you to enter such a masjid for your own safety and protection, for your own iman. Likewise, if your wife seeks to go to a masjid like this, then it is permissible for you to prevent her from going. Likewise, we must never forget that extremism is of two types. Those who are extreme and want to shed blood and cause fitna and fasad and cause bloodshed and tyranny in the land, and the extremism of those who every single thing is halal, every single thing is permissible. Don't worry, both of these two things are extreme. If you find a masjid has no rules inside of the masjid, every single thing is permitted, the mixing is happening without any sort of barriers, and the women enter the masjid dressed as they please to dress in clothes that are not appropriate, then if you decide and you tell your wife, I would rather you go to another masjid, not that masjid, it is permissible for you to do so. Why? Because you are trying to protect the faith and the haya. You are trying to preserve the shyness and the modesty of your daughter, your sister, and your spouse. So it is definitely permissible to prevent a woman from going to the masjid, but it has to be for a legitimate reason, not because of some bogus reason that you have concocted in your imagination. The second hadith is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. And this hadith is also found in the Sahih of Imam Muslim, in which he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "He who has in his heart an ant's weight of arrogance will not enter paradise." He who has inside of his heart an ant's weight, a small tiny amount of arrogance, khalas, finish, you will not enter the paradise. So a man asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but what if someone likes to wear nice clothing and nice shoes? This is arrogance, you know. He's wearing beautiful clothes, he's wearing a nice suit, he's dressed all in black, he looks really good, mashallah. Is this wrong? Is it wrong to have arrogance and pride in your clothing? Is it wrong to be prideful that your clothing is made from the best of materials and that you pride yourself in taking care of your looks and looking good? A very good question. On one hand, the Prophet, he says, whoever has an atom's weight or whoever has an ant's weight of pride will not enter paradise. And on the other hand, the brother, the companion, radiyallahu anhu wa ardahu, asks a very legitimate question. What if someone is prideful of his clothing, of the car that he drives? Is this permissible? قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, Allah is beautiful. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty, meaning it is permissible for you to have pride in your looks, meaning a pride that is balanced. You like to make sure that your clothes are always ironed, that you smell very good, and that you are presentable to the people. And you pride yourself in that. You make sure that your hair is combed and well nourished. You make sure that your shoes are clean. You pride yourself in making that yourself presentable. Why? Because you represent your family. Because you represent your community. Because you represent this religion of Islam. It is not permissible or it is not encouraged for a Muslim to not take care of his looks, to not take care of his clothes, to wear a white thobe but to have yellow stains under his arms. Yes, although it is your clothing and you can wear what you want to wear, and I do not say that it is haram to walk around as long as you are covering what is supposed to be covered, but I do say, how are you representing Islam? Those who have not yet accepted the religion, when they see such things, when they see a Muslim looking disheveled, looking like a bum, then what do they think about the religion? It does not mean that you and I must go bankrupt in trying to buy the best of clothes and worldly things, but it means that we should take care of ourselves and our appearance. So as the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. He loves those things that are beautiful. But arrogance, do you want to know what arrogance really is? Do you want to know what pride really is? بطر الحق وغمط الناس. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. My dear brothers and sisters, as we have mentioned in the past, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would often give a word to the companions and then redefine it. And the famous example is the example of the kalima, the word muflis, the one who is bankrupt. Who is bankrupt? The Prophet, he redefined it. He took bankruptcy that was known to be one who loses all of his wealth, and he redefined it and said the bankrupt person is the one who loses all of his deeds. Likewise, you and I are fully aware and understand of the word and the meaning of pride and arrogance. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he expanded that meaning, and he said that pride is batarul haq wa ghamtun nas. Pride is rejecting and refuting the truth. The truth comes to you. The truth comes to you and you reject it. Someone says, Allah, He created you. Allah, He created the heavens and the earth. And you say, I reject this. I don't believe in this. I don't like this. This is pride and arrogance. Because this same individual is unable to make anything of his own. This same individual was unable to even name himself. When you and I were born, someone named us. We had no strength to even name ourselves. So how can you deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is pride and this is arrogance. If this is found in the heart of the individual, rejecting the truth, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made paradise haram for such an individual. But not only refuting and rejecting the truth, وَغَمْتُ النَّاسِ, but more importantly, and what truly affects us even more, is despising the people. You find in many cultures around the globe that there are people who are very prideful of their heritage and they look down on other people. We know in India the famous caste system where there are those who are the elite and then you have those that are the untouchables, those who are at the bottom of the barrel. We have in the Arabian society, in the Hijaz, a hierarchy of who is the more pure and better Arab. And I do not want to get into this, but the Arabs, they know and understand this, that maybe those Arabs from the Khalij, from the oil-rich nations, they believe themselves to be better than the Arabs from the other and poorer nations. And likewise, in Pakistan and Bangladesh and the like, you have people that truly despise other people simply because where they come from. If you have this inside of your heart, if you know that you despise people because it is a cultural norm, because we culturally don't like another group of people, know that this is something that you must work on to correct in yourself. Because if you do not correct this and you do not remove this hatred for the people, then you will be from among those who will never be able to enter into Allah's paradise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften our hearts. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us believe and to be unified in our belief. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us true brothers and sisters, loving for His sake and coming together for His sake. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.
ITV, Call of Peace, Save Humanity. ITV, Call of Peace.